Hello and welcome to the Libinance podcast, where history, current trends, and smart investments collide for an exhilarating ride. We'd love to hear from you on what you think, and do follow us on all our social media accounts and leave your feedback as always. I'm Lois Boy, you can call me Libby, and I will be your host for the podcast. For each episode, we embark on a journey through time, explore deep hidden financial histories. From there, we dissect the pulse of today's financial world, breaking down complex trends. But that's not all. We talk about practical investment strategies to empower you on your financial journey. Hi guys, what's poppin'? You're welcome back to the Libinance podcast, where we believe the world of finance is for everyone to know. My name is Lois, but you can call me Libby, and I will be your host for today's session. Project Desft, or as I like to call it, Project Desft, or Project Desft. It sounded better in my head. On today's episode, we will be looking at what that project is all about, and also look at how far that project has come. Has it even started? And if it has, how far with it? Before we get into all of that, let's just have a recap of what we discussed on our previous episode. Blockchain. We said it's a simple ledger system to record transactions to prevent human manipulations and is made in a centralized manner. CBDCs, we gave a simple understanding that it's a digital currency, just like the figures you have in your Momo account or your bank account, but this time it's backed by the central bank. What makes CBDC different from the digital currency you have in your account, which you have loaned from the bank or any financial institution, is that loaned money, that digital currency, is backed by the bank's credit worthiness. By crediting your account, the bank has promised or has created a promise to honor that amount should you ever go and withdraw it. But CBDCs are backed by the central bank. The central bank has given that physical cash, that money that you have, which you have not loaned from any other bank, has given that money an authority to be used in any kind of transaction. We also looked at how the E-Cedi is trying to replace physical cash, which would be good for a number of reasons. For one, it would save the government printing costs, right, and managing this physical cash itself. But any innovation that comes to eliminate a risk also comes with a risk itself. So let's see how that goes. We also looked at the issues of how banks and payment service providers are going to be affected. And it looks like the E-Cedi is going to make the central bank look like a competitor. But no, that's not it. Not at all. Banks should be able to perform their normal services without any problem. Same for payment service providers. Let's say an individual has no E-Cedi on their platform, but they have some in their mobile money account. They can perform transactions through their Momo account. So from our perspective, there's not going to be an extreme change. What we would say is that commercial bank money creation is going to be affected, is going to be reduced. That is, and it's contingent on if the E-Cedi is structured in a way to reduce money creation. So if the E-Cedi is fully adopted and it happens that fiscal cash is no more used in the system and is done in a way to restrict banks from creating their own money, then that could be, let's say, one of the effects of the E-Cedi. But that's going to take some time. We also said that the E-Cedi must be accepted by the public to really get it to fully function. Although it can be implemented another way, the way I call it the by force way, or the forced conversion method, where the central bank would set a time limit for every single being to turn their cash for E-Cedi, and then they remove the backing of the physical cash. But that also comes at a huge cost, so they would have to really weigh their risk and benefits and choose which one to go for. Lastly, we talked about how CBDC and blockchain is being applied in other sectors. Last week, the Bank of Ghana announced its successful pilot project of cross-border trade with digital credentials. The project is called Project DESFT. DESFT meaning Digital Economy Semi-Fungible Tokens. And it's an initiative by the Bank of Ghana and the private sector to help MSMEs engage in cross-border trade. And really, this project aims to address the challenges that most MSMEs face in cross-border trade and help them trade internationally. So that's sort of like a brief intro of Project ZESFT, but we will get into it very soon. Now, before I continue, you can get the press release from the BOG's website. The team has the link to the site in the description box as well, so you can tap on it and get there. On YouTube, you can also find more about Project DESFT. Now, to clearly understand Project DESFT, we need to understand some key concepts and also get to know some institutions and the role they play in this project. So let's start with the concepts. Universal Trusted Credentials, UTCs. UTCs are digital credentials that are used to verify a business, your identity, its license, and trade records. So imagine UTCs as a digital certificate that provides or that proves who you are, what you do, and what you are allowed to do, and also provides your business records. So really, it's used to verify who you say you are and what you say you do. Then we have CBDCs, and CBDCs we've already discussed, so we are fine there. Stable coins. A stable coin is a type of cryptocurrency which is pegged to a national currency and is done to reduce how volatile it is. So simply, it's like a digital currency because it is a digital currency, but this time it's tied to the value of a traditional currency to make it more stable and less risky. You know, cryptocurrencies and CBDCs are the same in that they are both digital currencies, but they are different in terms of who regulates it, its purpose, its stability, and even its backing. CBDCs are issued and backed by central authorities, like the central bank. Cryptocurrencies, however, are not backed by any central authority. CBDCs are not volatile because they are pegged to fiat currencies. But with cryptocurrency, they are very volatile because they are not pegged to any fiat currency. Fiat currencies are the monies you use in your everyday transaction. So a stable coin is a kind of cryptocurrency which is also pegged to the value of a specific fiat currency. But as compared to CBDC, stable coins are a bit volatile. Volatile means they are very risky. The last concept is an escrow service. An escrow service is like a middleman who holds payment until both parties have fulfilled their obligations and have followed through on their terms of conditions. So you remember back in the days when we used to be kids, as if I'm old, but when we used to be like very young kids and we would make a bet on something, and then because we don't trust ourselves, we really give the money to a third party who is not part of the bet. And then when everything is said and done, the third party gives the money to whoever meets the condition or whoever wins. That is how an escrow service is like, but this time it's in a business format. So it's like a middleman, and the escrow service holds payment until both parties fulfill their obligations. Now that we have these concepts broken down into much simpler terms, we can now move forward and look at some institutions involved in Project DESFT. And then we can tie it all together with an example. So the first institution is the Bank of Ghana. After listening to more than 20 episodes on the Lipinas podcast, if you don't know what the Bank of Ghana is, or more, I don't know what to say again. In Project DESFT, the BOG issues the UTC, the digital credential, to the business. MAS, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is Singapore's central bank, is also a very important player in Project DESFT. In fact, they are providing the guidance and support, and most importantly, the necessary infrastructure and regulation to facilitate this cross-border transaction. And then we have G+D. Yes, you heard me right. G+D. That's the name. It's a tech company developing the E-Cedi infrastructure. And then we have Fidelity Bank Ghana, our own. We all know Fidelity Bank, and their purpose in Project DESFT is to provide the banking services and also help in the E-Cedi exchange. Then we have StraightX. StraightX is a fintech company, and their purpose in this project is to issue the stable coins we talked about. And then we have Proxtera. So Proxtera is a trade platform. It's a B2B trade platform that supports cross-border trade, and its purpose is to support both businesses wanting to engage in international trade using CBDCs. Then lastly, we have Ample Fintech. Ample Fintech is also a fintech company, a financial technology company, and its purpose in Project DESFT is to provide the escrow service we talked about, the middleman thing. Now that we have all the ingredients, we can cook right. So let's use one example to explain Project DESFT. I like Project Desft rather. Let's assume we have a company called Libby's Clothing, and Libby's Clothing is into exporting already made, tailored, specific dress to a Singaporean importer. Let's call that importer Singapore Boutique. Now, Libby's Clothing can trade with Singapore Boutique without the CBDC infrastructure, and they can use the traditional payment system. But for an MSME like Libby's Clothing, it's sometimes costly, slow, and frankly, Libby's Clothing does not have all the time in the world for just one trade. They have millions of customers to attend to. And that's where Project DESFT comes in. So, with our example, Libby's Clothing will have to obtain the UTC, the digital certificate we talked about, from the Bank of Ghana. And then the Singapore boutique would also obtain stable coins from StraightX. Remember StraightX, the fintech company that issues the stable coins. Good. Now that each party is set to go, they meet and agree on their terms of trade on the Proxtera platform. Now, after they've agreed on their terms, Ample Fintech would hold the money for them. And when everyone abides by the terms and conditions, and when the trade has been settled and digital credentials have been verified and really everything is in order, then Ample Fintech releases the stable coins to Fidelity Bank. And then the bank engages in the exchange service, converting stable coins to E-Cedi, then credits Libby's Clothing account. This Project DESFT, if implemented well, could really help MSMEs and the financial institutions to engage in international trade smoothly. So that's it, guys. Project DESFT, or as I like to call it, Project Desft. I promise you, it sounded cool in my head. This is where we park for today's episode, guys. A very short one, but very insightful. See you next week, same time, same channel. And remember, the world of finance is for everyone to know. Adios. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Libinance podcast. We'd love to hear from you on what you think, and do follow us on all our social media accounts and leave your feedback as always.